Hello lovely people, I'm doing this new format again just to see how you all like it for the true crime videos. And so this true crime video is actually one that I am very excited for. I am trying to knock all my videos out in a day. But anyways, I am going to be telling you all about the Jonbenet Ramsey case, which is fairly popular in the true crime community and just in general. It is a very popular case because it is so unusual and will leave you with multiple theories, as people have multiple theories because everybody wants to believe something differently. But anyways, let's begin. Jonbenet Ramsey's death is a very popular unsolved case that happened to a 6-year-old pageant girl who happened to be murdered. The family says that Jonbenet fell asleep in their car on the way home after they had had a family dinner with another friend and had put her back to bed after they had came home from the other family's house. But at 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey, Jonbenet's mother, had called 911 frantically saying that her daughter had been kidnapped. She claimed that she had found a note that morning, and if you're listening to the phone call, it sounds rather off. Now, I can't really say what was going through Patsy's head exactly because I have never been in a situation like this, but she almost seemed like she was acting. At least in my opinion, it sounds almost like she's putting on a show. As the cops were sent over to Patsy and John's house, Patsy and John decided to call friends and family to search for Jonbenet. This was because at the time it was still considered an abduction instead of a murder because they had not found the body of Jonbenet at the time. The cops acted very fucking poorly in this case. Most people can admit that they acted just incredibly irresponsibly. They allowed multiple people in at the house, and as someone who's taken forensics, this fucking irritates the shit out of me because this can completely mess up a crime scene and mess with all the forensics. Like, you can get rid of a bunch of people in the house because they were in the house. You can't say for sure that it was anyone that had been in the house who were friends who were coming over, so now you just eliminated a bunch of possible suspects because you allowed this to happen. Not only did the tons of dozens of DNA coming from all the friends and family interfere, but Jonbenet's father, John, had completely ruined the crime scene. He ended up finding Jonbenet's body, sadly, in the basement, and as he found her body, he picked her up and took her upstairs. Now, this is a bad move. You completely ruin any forensics anywhere because you can't tell what position she was in when she died. You can't tell if she struggled or anything like that because you moved the fucking body. That is a lesson to everyone. Don't move a body if you suspect they're deceased because it will completely ruin any possible crime scene if any crime has taken place. There weren't many suspects in this case because there was no sign of forced entry, and there was really no way for an intruder to get into the house without just not leaving any sign. Now, one of the main theories was a pedophile came in and assaulted her and murdered her. This is because there was signs of other people's DNA who did not belong in the family in her underwear, but there was no signs of sexual assault on her body. So there was no possible way to actually confirm the pedophile had come in and sexually assaulted her, as there was no signs or anything like that that were on her body. But it does make some sense in a way, because the thing with child pageants is they're pedophile breeding grounds. It's one of the reasons I am very against child beauty pageants, as it exploits a lot of children to the possibility of people with not so great intentions possibly taking advantage of them in the near future. But for the time being, the main suspects have always been her parents and her brother Bert. But what about the ransom note? Well, the ransom note was literally written on one of the notepads in the kitchen. If you don't know, That was pretty common back then, where little notepads kept by phones so they could jot down messages or something, because it wasn't as easy as now where we just have the voicemail. They had to jot down messages pretty quickly. So it was written on one of those. And the amount of money was incredibly low for someone to be asking for a family like the Ramseys. The Ramseys were very wealthy, and, you know, people knew that they were very wealthy people, and it was just so low for someone to be asking. It was just so low for someone to be asking for a ransom for people who were considered to be that rich. Police saw that this note had very inconsistent handwriting, and they took writing samples from Patsy and John. They ruled out John, I'm pretty sure, but they could not rule out Patsy. In fact, many handwriting specialists have come forward saying that the handwriting was incredibly similar to Patsy's. Not only this, but most of the writing in the note was almost directly from movies, which was very odd. And also, the note not only seemed to match Patsy's handwriting, but the amount that they asked, as I already said, was incredibly low. It was the exact amount of John's Christmas bonus that he had gotten that year. So very suspect. The cause of Jonbenet's death was strangulation, but also had some signs of sexual trauma from previously not necessarily having occurred that night, and had been hit in the head. The main consensus was that she had been knocked out and had been strangled to death. The autopsy also shows that she had recently eaten pineapple that was in her stomach. It had been undigested. I mean, like, very recently. Like, it was just, you know, still like little cubes of pineapple. You know, it hadn't been fully digested, which was very odd. But the only fingerprints that had matched any sort of thing connecting to pineapple was on a bowl that had pineapple pieces in it, and the only fingerprints on it were of Patsy and Jonbenet's brother Bert. None showing Jonbenet's fingerprints, which is rather strange. The parents had stopped talking to the police eventually, but had went on multiple TV segments to say things like, you know, there's someone out there who's gonna try and harm your baby. Please hold on to your babies as long as you can. And you watch the clips and they almost seem like they were acted out, not necessarily like sincerely. I mean, there's even a clip where you can see John repeating what Patsy's saying, and it's so weird. Now, Jonbenet, as I had mentioned, had an older brother, Bert. So many people are concerned, what was Bert up to while, you know, all the police were there, all the friends were there? Well, he apparently didn't get up until the cops had gone there, which I think is really strange, because if I heard my mother screaming, or my mother found one of my baby brothers hurt, she would wake all of us the fuck up to try and help as much as we can, even if there's not much we can do, you know. She would do that. I think most mothers would do that with the siblings. Bert actually did go on the Dr. Phil show to talk about this, and he seemed kind of off. He seemed to just be kind of smiling the whole time and not really taking his sister's death seriously, but I can't really put much against him, because especially going through not only his sister's death and her being murdered and still not knowing really the answers, but also being exploited pretty much throughout the rest of his childhood, because people kept thinking either him, his mom, or his dad did it, it can probably mentally fuck with a kid just a little bit. There are a few other suspects, and there actually have been people who have confessed to killing Jonbenet, even though it's been proven time and time again that they couldn't possibly have done it, which is rather strange. But the most likely suspects seem to be either the parents or Bert, although the signs of sexual assault did not match any of the family members, as I had mentioned before. Patsy is now dead, so we no longer will be able to question, you know, her side of the story. John refuses to speak any longer about the case, and Bert has only been seen on the Dr. Phil show, as much as I can tell. I have not seen him really on anything else other than this, but it has been a few years since then, so if there has been any, you know, let me know. Now, here's my theory. My theory is that Jonbenet sadly was most likely involved in some sort of pedophile ring, or was molested by someone in the pageant business, because those signs of assault pretty much point to that. And as I said before, pageants are breeding grounds for pedophiles. If you are a pedophile, that is like where you want to be. And unfortunately, I feel that would be the case, especially since she was a very well-known one. She had more connections, and I feel the more connections she had, it was more likely that she had been involved in something like that. And I think her parents kind of ignored it, unfortunately, and that's probably why they never really talked about stuff like that. I do believe that at some point she had told her parents, and they either did not want to believe her, or they knew but wanted her to be quiet as to not ruin the family name. I think she was awake by the time she had gotten home. Bert got some pineapple, Jonbenet probably took a piece, and Patsy put it away. I think one of two things happened. Bert got angry at his sister, knocking her out unconscious, and maybe even strangled her. I do think it is a huge possibility that Bert had killed his sister on accident for stealing the pineapple piece, which sounds really ridiculous, but I have a brother who has sometimes out of control anger outbursts, and I know siblings like this can get in situations like that where they hurt their siblings so much, but they don't mean to hurt them that much. And I do think a lot of it was made to protect Bert. You know, if that was the possibility, it would make sense the ransom note was made, because, you know, Patsy obviously probably losing one kid didn't want to lose the other, and so to protect him, she made this elaborate scheme that it was all a ransom gone wrong, and they probably even moved her body to the basement. Who knows? The second possibility, I think, was possibly Jonbenet's father, who may have done this. I think he possibly was abusing her at some point, or is pushing her to do sexual stuff with other men, or even with him. And she possibly asked him to stop, and was probably fighting back. He possibly snapped, hit her, strangled her, and told Patsy that it was an accident. Obviously, we cannot know for sure what happened to Jonbenet, because she's not here anymore. We can't ask her the questions, and we have no way to possibly tell with proof who did it. And I don't think Bert or Patsy, well, obviously not Patsy as she's dead, I don't think John or Bert or anyone is going to come forward and confess and have actual evidence backing up that they did this. So without any solid answers, we can only have these theories of what happened to this beautiful poor baby girl. I really feel bad that Jonbenet's life was taken, especially it seeming as if, again, her being a pageant girl, she probably didn't have that great of a life to begin with, and it makes me so sad, because she was actually a really beautiful little girl, and honestly, it's just, it breaks my heart, because she looked so sweet and innocent, and just, I can't deal with shit like that. It makes me really upset. And unfortunately, I don't think this case will ever be solved officially, but I do think someone can hopefully come to the conclusion that this little girl was most likely murdered by someone in her family, not someone who had no way of really entering and leaving with no trace left behind, because crimes like this, it's almost impossible for anyone to just leave with no trace, especially if the theory of a pedophile coming in was true. It's practically unlikely to ever happen. Anyways, that is my video on the Jonbenet Ramsey case. Please tell me what your thoughts on the case are down below. If you have any suggestions for more cases, leave those down below. And all that cool shit. Please give this video a like if you liked it, because that would make my day. And if you like content like this or like my reviews, go ahead and subscribe, because I'm trying to get back into a pattern where I can actually record videos and all that cool shit for you guys. So stay tuned. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Peace out.